The Honourable Member Andrew Williams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to speak on behalf of New Zealand First with this Defence Amendment Bill. We also are in agreement with all the other members in this House that New Zealand's Defence Force has a very proud tradition serving to protect our people, our borders, our values and our sovereignty of New Zealand. Our defence objectives are best achieved through a combination of factors, however. It's not just about defence. It's also about trade. It's also about diplomacy. It's also about economic and technical aid. It's also about continuing to support the United Nations. And it's also about supporting our peacekeeping and peacemaking operations around the world. As we all know, New Zealand is very much a maritime nation, and in fact, at the Local Government and Environment Committee at the moment, where we are considering the exclusive economic zone, we have been advised that we have the fifth largest economic zone, 200-mile limit in the world, the fifth largest in the world. It is huge by any standard of any nation, and therefore New Zealand is very much dependent and must take notice of the fact that our maritime capabilities must be there. And indeed our maritime capabilities, Mr Speaker, must also extend to assist our South Pacific neighbours and friends who perhaps do not all have sufficient capabilities to monitor some of their own areas of the Pacific as well. New Zealand First itself, of course, we are committed to building and maintaining a professional and effective defence force, and we always will. We believe in a strong defence force, and we believe in a strong Army, Navy and Air Force. For our size of only 4.5 million people, I think, and our party certainly feels that we do very well and we punch above our weight. However, we could do better, and there are aspects of this bill that we do support. We do agree with certain sections of it, such as being able to merge some of the operations and find economies of scale across the Navy, Army and Air Force through cooperation between the various arms of our defence forces and bringing some of those under one umbrella to find economies of scale. However, Mr Speaker, this isn't just about that finding economics in our military. This is very much perhaps a Dad's Army bill in disguise. We see this very much as, again, the National Party wishing to privatise parts of our military. This is very much along the lines of National Party tactics in other areas, such as our prisons, wishing to privatise aspects of our prisons, with charter schools, with the ACT Party and National wishing to privatise parts of our education, wishing through the Auckland Council to privatise many aspects of local government. And this is just another part of the whole web of intrigue from the national government of now trying to privatise parts of our military. Indeed, it flows on very closely to the privatisation of our assets, such as our power companies and Air New Zealand. It is just a continuous broken record of privatisation by the national government of much of our heritage and much of what this country stands for. Mr Speaker, this bill also undermines our territorial forces, good people throughout New Zealand working in communities all over New Zealand who spend time in the territorial force. Very important people who give of their time to also make huge contributions when they are posted in overseas theatres of war and in peacekeeping efforts. Also at home in emergencies such as the Christchurch earthquake and national disasters, and I'm not talking about the National Party, I'm talking about national disasters and civil defence emergencies. Mr Speaker, this goes as low as also wanting to scrap 7 territorial bands around New Zealand and leaving only 3 regular force bands for all the important occasions that New Zealand is so proud of. So many communities in New Zealand, Anzac Day next year, will struggle to have a presence of a territorial band at important ceremonies that they are undertaking, or indeed throughout the year marking other important commemorations. Mr Speaker, this will also have a flow-on effect, this white paper and this defence bill, in terms of jobs. this government keeps talking about creating more jobs and more employment, we must always remember that our military provides a huge amount of employment in this country. It is the basis of many of our apprenticeships, of training, of getting young New Zealanders into a service, into a career, giving them a leg up, getting them into the services and giving them an opportunity for a job in life. Many of them learn their trades in the military, Mr Speaker, and then go on out into the community once they leave the forces to be very, very useful people with good trades training or good skills training or good IT, communications and other training from the military. Mr Speaker, this Defence Amendment Bill very much is a Dad's Army bill. It's no wonder that Stratfor political analysts in the USA just a few days ago made the following comment. When it comes to geopolitical importance, it doesn't get much lower than New Zealand. I mean, they barely have an air force. What possible strategic use is that little part of the world to anyone? And this is from Stratfor.com, who are widely listened to by very, very significant and important people in the United States and internationally. And those are the sort of comments that were leaked on WikiLeaks about New Zealand. Imagine what the comments will be once we further cut our military and turn it into a privatised Dad's Army. Imagine the future comments from the likes of Stratfor.com. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First opposes this Defence Amendment Bill in its present form. It undermines our long-standing proud history of military service in this sovereign nation of ours. Many aspects of this bill will be offensive to our serving personnel, will be offensive to our veterans, and offensive to those who have given of their lives for this country. And I look on the wall once again to my left at the Vietnam crest on the wall, and I do wonder what my brother would be thinking today had he survived the Vietnam War and was not killed in action on behalf of this country. What would he be thinking today at the privatisation of many aspects of our Army, Navy and Air Force? I think people like my brother who have served this country and died for this country, and many others who the Minister mentioned before their names, would similarly be aghast when they see that we are turning New Zealand very much into a Dad's Army and a privatised defence force in many respects. That again will be for the benefit of those who support the national government and can get the private contracts. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First does not support this, but we do support the ongoing strength of our military in this country.
I call the Honourable Member Dr Paul Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this